This is a guest that I've been wanting to get on the podcast for quite a while now. She has a unique business when it comes to influencer marketing. No, it is not a brand. It is a platform called FYPM, entirely built off and built for creators and influencers. Picture the Glassdoor for influencer marketing, being able to rate brands, how they communicate with you, what deliverables do they often ask for, what pricing do they offer, do they overpay, do they underpay. This is a platform for you brands listening that you would not want to end up on in a negative way, because the influencer marketing community is very small and influencers talk to one another. So we get into a recently released creator benchmark or creator pricing benchmark report. So we go into the ins and outs of all of that data, full of 16,000 reviews, 7,000 brands that are a part of this report, 18 million creators. So nonetheless, I'll leave it at that and let's jump into the episode. Thanks for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Doing good. In the intro, I called it the Glassdoor of influencer marketing. Is that a fair comparison to FYPM?
Yeah, that's a fair comparison toward where we're headed, for sure. Right now, it's more Glassdoor for brand deals because we only serve influencers and talent managers, just anyone on the talent side. But we do have a brand wait list for our FYPM for business product that'll be coming out later this year, early next year.
I did notice that. Do you picture the creators and brands interacting at all, or is it a completely separate pool of people?
Yeah, well, one thing, like one of our most highly requested feature, I guess, is influencers would like to be able to find jobs through FYPM. So we just want to enable brands to update their brand pages, like their logos, post open opportunities, and then maybe there will be like some opt-in experience, change the reviews, kind of like to an Airbnb model where you can give like public feedback, private feedback to your community, and private feedback to the brand. But we'd have to, that's a big change because right now it's all anonymous inside. So working through that is going to be a fun challenge. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Lindsey, can you give us, and just the listeners, obviously Cody and I have a pretty good understanding of what it is, but for everyone tuning in, what does FYPM stand for? Can you describe it at large a little bit more? What's FYPM all about?
Yeah. Well, FYPM stands for Fuck You Pay Me. I came up with the idea from my own personal experience. I've actually had the idea for like over 10 years. In 2015, I won the hashtag Cast Me Mark Instagram contest. And I was like one of like 800,000 people all over the world who applied on Instagram. And I was one of 11 who won. My prize was to be the international face of Mark by Marc Jacobs. And it was great. It changed my life. But for all that, I only got paid $1,000. And I knew I was getting screwed. I know I love seeing people's faces when I say that amount. They're like, oh my God. But I was like, it could have been what launched my like modeling career potentially. But it was the same thing. Like on paper, I looked very successful as a freelance model. I did like New York Fashion Week. I was sold as wall art in Urban Outfitters. I was on Vera Wang's website for a hot minute. Like it, and I never got paid really. Like to this day, that $1,000 Marc Jacobs campaign was my highest paid gig. So, cut to, had to get a real job, no money in modeling. So I started working at a 25 billion investment fund in Dallas. And that's where I started my online alter ego, Miss Young Professional, which is like a blog about sexism in the workplace. If you go way back, you'll see my goofy, fucked up captions. But I kind of used that to get my job on the marketing team at Poopery. So
very cool.
I don't think I answered the question. I just started telling my story, but
No, it's good. It's
Yeah,
good.
but
We'll keep going though, because that's kind of the next question as well.
yeah.
Like during your experience, and it sounds like your founding story has to do with your personal experience as well as a model.
Mhm.
But did your experience at Poopery specifically as well, anything about that experience lead to FYPM and just the founding of it there too?
Yeah, so what I learned through modeling and through Miss Young Professional is I am clearly good enough to do the work. I would get a ton of inbound interest all the time, but I was never good enough to be paid. And then what I learned at Poopery on the social team was we a lot of the influencer sourcing software we used there it was like built into the tech, like we could like filter out like only show me influencers who want free product. So I was like, this is why it's so fucked, this is why nobody ever wants to pay me. And I was just like, okay, like I wish there was just a website where we could all just share how much money we're getting, similar to
Mm.
like a corporate job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So if you pay me, it
yeah,
enables you to have visibility into which brands are just doing product in exchange for post, which brands are willing to pay, how much they're willing to pay, which ones are generous, which ones are cheap. Is
yeah,
that a pretty good description of what if you pay me
yeah,
showcases to brands and influencers alike?
yeah. I mean, it's a lot like Glassdoor. So, like, if you're trying to do your due diligence on a particular brand, you can look, you can search the brand on FYPM and just read all the reviews. Everything's anonymous inside, but you can see, like, the follower counts the people had, how many deliverables, what the terms
Hmm.
were of the deal.
What the
Like,
communication was like with the brand,
yeah,
etc.
we asked them to rate communication, creative freedom, timely payment, um, on like a 1 to 5 scale, as well as overall experience. So it's a lot like Glassdoor, and then you can also like filter, like if you're doing outbound or looking for brands to pitch to, you can filter by brands in your industry, in your niche, or like even by cash comp. If you're like, I would like an extra 10 grand this month, you can just filter out to see all the ones with big budgets. It's a really powerful tool, and it's helped a lot of people. Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, people listening to this are probably like, "Man, what are the seeding guys that product seed only, and they're exploiting influencers? What are they doing having this girl on? Aren't they setting themselves up for failure?" Well, it's funny because we've had a lot of interactions, and actually we talk about your platform quite often because you can't get away with screwing creators over today. And we've had conversations where it's like, we're not anti-pay influencers either. We just think there's a proper way to start where it's really around love of brand, love of product, and then things materialize from there. So we've agreed on that concept, like all these different things but just want to make that clear for probably people listening. They're just like, man, these people are they setting up kinship for failure here? So let's get into the report, the creator pricing benchmark report. Just to call out this was a recent thing. Well, let me just tee you up to talk about it. I have some stats pulled from some of the high level 16,000 reviews, 7,279 brands on the platform, just as a quick teaser for amount of data that was on this report. But this new launch from FYPM, tell the audience what that is.
Yeah, so basically, the way I see it is, we're the aggregator, for this industry. And I wanted to and as the aggregator, really like one of the only entities that can say like what's normal, because we're platform agnostic, brand agnostic, like no two deals are the same. So really what we're trying to accomplish in this report is showcase what's normal for influencer marketing today versus how it's changed these past 2 years. And we earlier this year we launched our Rate My Offer tool for our influencers inside FYPM, and we created a proprietary pricing algorithm that kind of basically you just put in like the brand name, the compensation, your stats, as well as the deliverables and the terms, and it scans it to all like 16,000 collabs in our database, and tells you if it's like about average, like below average or above average, so you can kind of so that's really what we would like to roll out for the brand side as well. I mean, it would be like a different UI and all that, but this report was designed to kind of explain some of the complexities that power this algorithm. Because what's normal varies a lot by like industry, even like within like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to quantify.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The reason why I think this is so interesting and why we were so excited to bring you on was, for the longest time, it's basically been the Wild Wild West in terms of pricing. It seems like they're just pulling stuff out of thin air as far as like what creators, how they set their pricing. So in your opinion, do you feel like with being more on the creator side, obviously giving protection towards the creators, does it create a little bit more uniformity around, okay, this is maybe what I charge upfront to a brand, or this is what I should offer or for what they're asking? Like, how does that come into play?
Well, I mean, new creators are always going to be excited to get the opportunity, especially if it's a brand they really, really want to work with. But there's this certain inflection point where like you've been doing it for a while and you've been doing brand deals for a while, you create quality content and you know how to work with brands, but brands are still trying to use like your metrics like on your like to like kind of like rationalize lower rates. But really what it does is it helps influencers see like what's actually normal, because a lot of times like business is going to business, they're going to try to get what they can for as little as they can,
Well,
so
both
like
parties are.
yeah, exactly. So uh like once you get to that more experience level, because everyone's follower, not everyone is going to be a macro influencer. It depends a lot on like who you are, what you talk about, and how niche like whatever you blog about is. Like if it's super niche and like that super niche is like your exact customer, then it's like they are worth like every fucking penny, like just do it, like reach all of your customers right there. But like they'll like it's just you can't price them the same. Like you can't, like you wouldn't price like Kardashian the same way you like
Sure. Yeah. Of course. So let's get into just kind of give more context to the listeners. Is this report, what I said in the beginning, 16,000 reviews, over 7,000 brands, basically over the last 2 years, even inclusive of 2023. You guys saw 60% of deals are paid. The median pricing is $500 for Instagram, $400 for TikTok. There's a 18 million plus data set. Majority of them are nano and micro influencers. Now, there's a little bit of difference in terms of terminology, the way that people use micro, nano, macro. You even say macro is above 100,000 follower, whereas with us, we would still call that a micro. So there's semantics involved, but overarching, people, a part of your platform are 15,000 followers at a median, and a median 50,000 followers on TikTok. One of the things that I mentioned earlier about how, brands can't get away with screwing creators anymore because of your platform existing, and how if they get a bad rap, well, one of the biggest things that you mentioned is the highest rated brands from creators' perspective in terms of how they work, what they offer, and then there's lowest rated brands. How have you seen, just being involved on the inside and seeing this over the course of 2 or 3 years, how have you seen either one of those be affected, if you have sort of any visibility with those brands specifically, or how that's being affected on within the inside of the walls of FYPM. Today's Power Minute is brought to you by Mighty Scout, an influencer tracking tool. So you've probably heard Taylor and I talk about Mighty Scout at length in past episodes, but today we want to take special time to speak to it specifically. So if you are investing in any sort of influencer marketing to a degree, I highly suggest getting on Mighty Scout. First of all, it's going to track all of your organic posting that goes out. So if you're doing seeding, pay for posts, you can drop in all your influencers by campaign. And then once those influencers are in those campaigns, they're going to immediately start being tracked if and when they mention you by handle or any hashtags that you give it. So it's going to give and pull all that content, most importantly, so that you can know who posted, you can reach out for content rights, etc. Also, it's going to give you all the reporting and ROI on those things as far as metrics wise. So you're going to be able to know the vanity metrics that go out around those influencer posts. You're going to know everything that it goes into around influencer marketing in regards to Mighty Scout. So if you haven't checked them out, highly, highly suggest them. Go to mightyscout.com to find out more.
Yeah. So, I mean, the brands that are the lowest rated are typically the brands that just try to acquire creative assets for as cheaply as possible. There's not really much opportunity to grow with the brand, and they just kind of leave feeling like it didn't really help their career as a creator that much. And also, like, if they didn't get paid, then it's like, why did I even do this? Whereas the other ones, and a lot of the ones that are the highest rated on FYPM they're not all paid. They just do a really good job of making you feel like making creators feel like they are a part of the brand, or maybe they do a really good job of finding creators that are also their own customers already. And then you have like the highest rated that it's the same situation, but they also pay very, very well. Like Adobe, for example. Like, and that's like Adobe's like a double whammy because their customers are creators and they compensate very well.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So money isn't everything, but it counts. It makes up for a lot.
I'm just curious on a follow-up question here. Before you and Cody had connected and you guys were able to get aligned on how we go about our process, right? Building relationships with influencers through seeding. And we had that moment where you put me on blast. I was like, Cody, oh my goodness. No. I'm surprising you here, I'm assuming, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But I went to Cody after. I was like, oh my goodness, is Kinship, like we didn't get a chance to get aligned with her. Is Kinship going to end up on FYPM? Are we going to be canceled? Oh my goodness. But, hindsight 2020, obviously we've gotten aligned on our process, and I think we're on the same page at this point with how we're different. But have you seen, long story short, context to my follow-up question, have you seen FYPM cancel a brand? Like, because of FYPM and the reviews of a brand on there, you saw this basically domino effect where this brand pretty much gets canceled because of all the reviews that are being shared on your platform about them.
Yeah, I don't think so, because it's only open to like influencers and talent managers. So there's first of all, there's really not much incentive, like, trying to cancel to your own community. But people go into detail as to like why like they had a good or a bad experience, typically. More so if it's a negative one, they'll go
always.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it's just simple growing pains associated with growing a business and building out your influencer team. As long as like, the brand learns from it, they typically redeem themselves. So there is like, you can see the year of the collab. We also just started to collect like more like monthly data. So like you can, like, people will say, I worked with this brand, like if it's an ambassadorship, like from like December 2021 to like March 2023, or I did a one-off thing, and you can definitely see trends over time.
For
It's just
sure.
the brands who don't ever seem to learn from their mistakes who are the ones that make like our worst brands to work for list.
Well, one of
Mm.
them, and I'm just going to call them out, Fashion Nova.
Yeah.
They were in the bottom 5, and they've been doing influencer for a long time.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They actually ran one of my boys' creatives without getting usage rights to it, and he got into a little something with them.
Did they fix it? Tell them to leave a review.
it's got to be part of the platform.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what I'm able to say or not say, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But from the report that you guys put out, what was the biggest surprise to you coming out of the data?
Today's Power Minute is brought to you by Social Snowball, an affiliate platform for e-com that is focused on enabling affiliate partnerships for what I like to call the modern affiliate. So not the traditional affiliates, publishers, blogs, etc. This is the modern affiliate, such as creators, ambassadors, influencers, customers, etc. So there's many things I love about Social Snowball. One of the first things that comes to mind is they eliminate all code leaks. So if your codes that have gone out to influencers or affiliates have ended up on coupon sites, Social Snowball would eliminate this. Also, it's very important to have a tiered based system to motivate your affiliates to continue to post and generate revenue for you. So they make that super seamless, make it super easy on the affiliate to get paid out any which way that they like. So Venmo, PayPal, directly to their bank, on a Visa gift card, Amazon gift card, all that, etc. If you guys haven't checked them out, they're on the Shopify App Store. Go check them out today. You're missing out. They are clearly the best and our number one recommendation for affiliate marketing.
See, I don't know. I rarely get surprised, to be completely honest. Like, and when we did the best and worst brands to work for list, I felt like I was surprised because I thought a lot of the best brands would be like the highest paying, but they're not necessarily. So that was a big surprise, but that was like earlier this year. So when we saw a similar pattern, I wasn't that surprised. But I guess how uneven like the budget cuts hit the industry as a whole, like, or hit creators as a whole, like because spend is down this year, but it has hit macro influencers on Instagram the hardest. But that might be a reflection of like just switching to more like performance based compensation, and they can take that. So like that was a little surprising, but
Do you still believe in one-off posts? Or when I say, let me rephrase that question. Do you believe in one-off posts? Because I don't know if you previously did. Because the context of this question is, out of the data, it's cheaper to purchase 2 videos from the same creator than 2 different creators. Not surprising. Includes
yeah.
cross-platform as well. But all that stood out to me was like one-off deals or continue to not make sense for brands if they are going to do this pay for post model. But is that
Yeah.
something that you've always endorsed or continue to stand
Well,
by?
it depends. See, it's so hard because like every brand is different, every campaign is different, every influencer is different. I mean, if the influencer is like more of like a celebrity, it's going to be really hard and really expensive to get them to do like to attach their face and their name to your brand for a long time. But so I mean, it really depends. I like to say building relationships with influencers is the best thing to do always. It's just like it's the best to build relationships with your customers or your users or whatever your business is. Like I mean these are like influencers are like your like live public facing supporters of your brand, so you should want them to be on your side and to care about what you're doing. But it really depends. I mean, some people are some brands are like, especially the ones who do UGC, that like that's totally different. Like the goal of that is to get like acquire like creative
Content for ads.
assets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like one or two could be like is fine for that, especially if they're not posting on their own channels. It's just your channels, you know.
For sure.
Yeah. See, I'm still
W- w-
learning a lot too. This is just the trends we see in our data.
You have
Yeah.
you have a pretty good vantage point.
Yeah.
Uh, Within these deals with influencers, between influencers and brands, how important would you say just the love of the product within those deals between influencer and brand is?
Oh, it's so important. It it almost doesn't make any sense if like the influencer doesn't love your product. It's like how are they going to explain why other people should love your product if they're having a hard time wrapping their brain around it themselves?
For
you know?
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's
You need
so
to have
important.
the perfect pairing.
Yeah.
Well, outside of just having the love of like product from the influencer and having that product adoption, in a perfect world, what does, that relationship between brand and influencer look like from honestly start to just a progressive relationship and an ongoing relationship? What does that look like in a perfect world?
In a perfect world. Well, in a perfect world, it would be a mutually beneficial
Hmm.
relationship. Like if you're starting your business from scratch, definitely invest in um, influencer relationships and definitely pick ones that are your customers, and take their feedback on your product to improve it.
Hmm.
Like I think one of the reasons why FYPM has been so successful so far is that every day I'm having conversations with, you know, like thousands of people who love and use FYPM every day. So it's been easier to make a good product.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, what both parties are trying to get from each other is opportunity for growth. And then when you do make it, you should reward the people who helped you get there. It's like early stage
100%.
startup. Yeah. Yeah. If you have the
100%.
means, you should.
Yeah. 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 Well, something specifically mentioned in the report was the rise of gifting this year in 2023. Why do you think that is?
I think it has to
And
do.
can you define gifting? Gifting in the sense in the way that we do it, like no strings attached, no expectation to post, or is this gifting just for the audience defining it, like product in exchange for posts? Can you make that definition one, and then why do you think this is?
You can't review a gifted collab unless like you posted about it on
Hmm.
FYPN. So
So
it's
it
like,
encompasses both.
So there's
yeah,
some sort of exchange though, or
exactly.
transactional agreement.
Yeah, yeah. Like they have an agreement in writing somewhere.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it
Yeah.
was a transaction. So it couldn't be no strings attached type gifting. It's in exchange for something for that product.
Yeah, it could be no strings attached, but they'll say that and they'll say this is what I did for them. But often in those cases, it's like the influencers already want something that the brand's selling and is like, hey, I'll post it on my story if you give me, like this
Mm. So it kind of is
whatever it is.
Got it.
backwards.
Hotel travel is very, very popular.
So they're approaching the brand saying like, I would love to travel for
Hotel
free
travel.
for Marriott and get some free nights.
Yeah, yeah. Or like smaller Airbnbs, who like could
For
if you're a
sure.
photographer, you can tell if something's a good or a bad picture. You just pick one that just has bad pictures, and you're like, "Hey, I can, I can do this."
Spruce it up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Um.
going back to just the core of this, though, why do you think there's a rise in gifting in 2023?
Oh, just because, well, a couple things. One, marketers are pulling back on budgets in general, focusing more on
Hmm.
performance based campaigns if there is compensation, and then two, like like every other industry or job field, when from 2020 to 2022, like influencer prices like exploded. And then there's
Hmm.
just a bunch of new people, especially with like layoffs in the traditional like
Mm.
work workforce. People are, trying to get into creating content to make extra money, so it's like
Right.
there's more labor supply.
For
Just
sure.
a
That's
follow
that's what I
a
think
follow-up
it is.
question on that is, what do you have any data, or if you don't, what would be your guess of the percentage of creators that are on the platform that are full time, that like this is their livelihood?
Oh, full time on FYPM? Oh, probably like, I don't know, like 1%. Most people do not do, like, sorry, my dog is like, can you see
Good for the
him?
views. Good for the views.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, he's like right there making noises. He's like my little piglet. Hi, baby. Yeah, no, FYPM caters mostly to like this long tail of creators who don't do it full time. They do it to make ends meet. Most of them like have other full time jobs, and that's what
Yeah.
makes them like interesting and like followable.
Yeah.
We have a manager portal, and those are the types of people who like cater to more like full time creators. Because it's like their job to get them brand deals and stuff. Oh my
What a
gosh.
great ending to the show. Just snorts.
Yeah, Lindsey, your dog's hungry. I'm gonna get you one last question, then get you out of here.
Cute. Wait, can you see him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cody loves dogs.
Dogs are the best.
If you were just a final question here, if you were advising a brand from the vantage point that you sit in, and then you also did this for a brand at Poopery, what would your advice be on building out an influencer marketing program? If you can leave the audience with one or two, takeaways.
At what stage is your company?
Great question.
Yeah.
I would say try to generalize it. Do your best to generalize it.
Well,
or if you want to delineate it, go ahead.
My advice would be, don't try to generalize it. Try to niche up and then out. Get really good at figure out who your biggest customer is, and then do everything you can to get into their mind. Like, where do they live on the internet? Do they hang out on Instagram? Do they hang out on TikTok? And just go see who they're following and like what they're interested in and what makes them laugh and what makes them cry, and then go find like creators who they're sharing all the time. Like, just, is that good advice? I don't know. This is how I do things. I'm like creepy.
Very good. Nailed it.
No, it's great advice. Would you recommend doing that though, regardless of where they're at as a company, though, as a startup?
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. Brilliant. Yep.
Hire someone on your social team to just be a freak about this. Just do it. It's well worth the investment, I swear.
Well, Lindsey, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your pup's time with all the snorts. You had great contributions at the end. And yeah, if people wanted to connect with you, or if by happenstance any creators are listening to this, I probably doubt that, but any brands that want to learn more about your platform, where can they connect with you?
So brands can sign up to be the first to know when we release FYPM for Business or any new reports at www.fypm.vip/brands. And if you're interested in the research report, you can get that at fypm.vip/research.
All right, that's all for today. If you'd like some help developing your influencer marketing campaign, go ahead and DM us on Twitter. Links are in the description. Or you can head to kinship.co to learn more, and you can book a call there. That's KYNSHIP.co. At kinship.co, you also find tools, templates, and resources, all designed to help you grow an influencer campaign that drives visibility and sales, not just likes. Thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you next week.